Thank you, Amber and Elia. Lovely to have you, Lisa. I love our book nights. Appreciate the 5th month. KP Dubs bringing the subs. This is the 11th month. Oh my gosh, almost a year. And only the shortest month to get through to. Woo! Oh goodness, we're up. Oh, wrong one. Crushing it. This is what I don't understand. Why is it so hard for me to frame? Oi. I did change a couple of little things around. Let's get this chat box nice and prime viewing. I like that. Little words just around the screen. Hello everyone, welcome to Book Chat. It is February's book. We got a new image because of that. We're chatting book 2. Hello, Play the Board. Hello, Catch22. We've got True Scorn, Vaidin, and Sprinkles the Dragon Cat in the chat at the moment. Oh, wow. How did everyone else just jump in like that? What? Hold on. I need to be unmuted here, don't I? I need to be unmuted here for it to make sense. Good work, Maude. Have a couple of weeks off and I forget everything. We've got a lot of people in the chat, which is really cool. Michelle, lovely to have you. I know sometimes you can be a bit busy. This is cool. This is cool. So usually when we start a new book, we do a little, you know, how are we feeling about it? First impressions of it. Come back. But I actually, before we get started, wanted to do a little wonderful update about Project Hail Mary. That was January's book. Oh, get out of here. Oh no, we like background music, don't we? It was a resounding success. Our most 5-star rating across the board that we've ever had. Sorry about that, Lisa. Colleen says, I'm excited to talk about this. DH Discord says, hello. And Blue Reader Gal says, hello. Blue Reader Gal is always like on Twitter being like, so excited to talk books, which is fantastic. DNG Hounds, first time chatter, says, hi Maude, with a robot going, beep, beep. Hi, welcome. So Project Hail Mary was our last book. This is when I get really, really excited about a book that I not only loved, but I thought, you know, some books, they're for a particular audience. They're very much a genre. And like, you know, recommending books can be a little bit difficult if that's not really their thing. I found with Project Hail Mary, it was so fun, easy to digest, wonderful, exciting, well told, fantastic sci-fi that I immediately told my parents about it. They're big readers. Mum got stuck into it first. No, I forgot my phone. I wanted to read some excerpts. I can pull it up on my computer. I wanted to quote some of my mum's feedback and responses about the book, which has been great because I would get a message from her out of nowhere. Just one moment, it'll be worth the wait, I hope. Alrighty, Mum. Very exciting. I've got to scroll up a little. So I told Dad about it first because he likes, you know, fun books. He's very smart. He's into sci-fi. And I kept telling him about it. So he ordered it from the library. And then as soon as it arrived, Mum's like, no, I'm reading it first. Trust Mum. So January 21st, bummed that she missed the book club. I'm trying to get her in on it. Hello, Avery, lovely to have you. You're not that late, we're just getting started. I'm talking about Project Hail Mary and the update of getting my family into it, and it's very exciting. Mum says on the 21st of January, so we got Project Hail Mary yesterday and I've started it. Weir certainly has been influenced by COVID and climate change. Good. And I thought that was really interesting because I didn't really think of it like that. But of course, Andy Weir would have written it during 2020 because it was released in May 2021. So it's what he did during lockdown, which is kind of interesting to think about. And then, of course, I was like, I can't wait to hear what you think about it. And then she says, well, I'm reading it beyond page 50. So that's a good start. It reminds me a little bit of Ender's Game, but with a junior high school teacher. Oh, and then she sent me a photo of her wearing her earrings from Christmas. It looked really great. Mum then updated me and she says, other than the gosh darn it's, I am liking the Hail Mary roller coaster. He's meeting the Iridians. I was like, I jumped on the phone. I was like, what the hell's wrong with the gosh darn it? He's a middle school teacher. He's not swearing. Like, this is totally on point. And I said, I love the reveal of him like checking himself, using that as information to figure himself out. And then like he's all fuckets by the end, that's for sure. And then she says, like a couple of hours later, got a soft spot for Rocky. Yay. I was like, Rocky is the best. And she goes, over 300 pages. So she like read 250 pages like immediately. They are trawling for astrophage predators. And I said, what did you think of Strat? And she's like, I like that degree of power. Imagine what she could do for climate change. Amaze, amaze, amaze. How cute is my mum? She was talking like Rocky. Oh, cute woman. And then, of course, I kind of relayed some of the stuff that we spoke about. She's fucking cute, my mum. Amaze, amaze, amaze. Anyway, can't get over it. Yeah, she's so cute. And then I was kind of like relaying some of the stuff that we spoke about in our book chat. And I said, but it begs the question, is there one person on Earth that could successfully navigate that kind of unlimited power? And she said, look, I guess if there were an imminent crisis where all government agreed that it was coordinate or perish. Chat box is a little small. I'm going to bring that up. And I was like, yeah, but is that even realistic? I would want to hope so, but... And then she said, meteor, plague, COVID, the WHO CEO, the World Health Organization CEO, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus has a lot of power. I hope that's right. Otherwise, she just kind of like went a bit ham with the keyboard. And then she says, I knew those horny little astrophages would cause trouble eventually. I thought they might gravitate towards the carbon dioxide on Earth to breed. And then she says, I finished the book. I thought it was good. Obviously, COVID had a big influence on his writing this piece. Is it a warning to be careful of fast scientific assumptions? I was like, I didn't quite see it like that, but he's very pro-science. And then we jumped on the phone and had a discussion about the fact that we just don't have enough time to test a lot of science when we are expected to have immediate results. So during the course of COVID, of pandemics, we are doing the best that we can. She always used to say stuff like, when I was applying self-tanner when I was a teenager, she's like, your skin's literally drinking these chemicals. Have we had sort of like 30 years of trial and study to see a long-term effect of continued use? She would say that about birth control. She's just like, I feel like when we are putting things in our body, like, you know, having long-term effects is super, super important when it comes to health. A bit of background about my mum. She worked in the health department. Yes, more in psychology, but she looked at drug and alcohol addiction. So she's sort of been in the medical field. She was a nurse, a trained nurse growing up. But for me, I was like, and she's been vaccinated. She's very pro-vax is what I want to say. But she's wondering if Andy Weir, as a scientist, is using any kind of analogy with the fact that he wasn't able to test the Talmeba to understand using a different alien type metal would be able to kind of like sink into it, and that all the plan was based on this one thing which unraveled everything because we just didn't have enough time to make the science sort of studies with it all. I was like, yeah, it's true, but I think it is just a series of doing the best that we can. But she also thinks that if someone could have absolute power to fix climate change, she wants that today, like yesterday. You know, someone that's not going to deny science and be like, it's not happening, it's not a priority. She's like, get Strat in there and just be like, whoop, we're doing this, we need to save the earth. So I like that. And then the best update is that my eldest brother, Jack, who doesn't necessarily read books, Jack is my brother who's on the spectrum, and he's a genius at maths, numbers and him get along like a house on fire. But he didn't quite develop sort of like a literacy or an English sort of like vocabulary past sort of like a young high schooler. So he just doesn't really read fiction. It's not really what he's into. He and I bond over video games. Mum was talking to him about this book, and not only did he show interest, but he's asked to also borrow the book to read. My mum and I collectively had a heart attack. This is massive, and we are thrilled. But we can't seem thrilled because then it will deter him. But we are like, really, really exciting that he's going to read a book. So I was just stoked that my dad would read it, and then Mum got excited, and now my brother is as well. And chances are we're going to actually buy it for my other brother to read. So this has turned into an entire whole Garrett affair, which is fantastic. And I'm really excited to give you the update on that one. Any other updates for Project Hail Mary before we nip it in the bud? Cherry, yeah, let's try and convince people that the earth is round. That's a really good one as well. Project Hail Maude. Oh, that's cute. Yeah. I love that. It's very wholesome. It is. It's a great book. And this is, you know, I think you've kind of seen that a big part of what I like to do is bring people together with books and through reading. Yeah. So, yeah, has anyone else had another family member or had recommendations with it? Okay, cool. Let's get stuck into Well of Ascension. Book 2. Ah, we can't see that. I'm sorry. What if I put it right there? Thank you so much, Gabriel Gundan, for the follow. Appreciate that. I know. Then we can read The Martian. We're going to do that in, I think, May. We might shuffle a couple of things around. I'm not sure. But May. How are you, Gabriel? You reading books? Tell us about that. Oh my gosh, stop popping up. Okay. Let's get book chat happening. Yeah, I'm just going to eat all the followers. No worries. It's normal around here. Vaidin says, I'm trying to get a friend to read Project Hail Mary. He'll probably end up reading it later. No family, though. Michelle says, I do think I'm going to just buy multiple copies so I can give it to loved ones. Yeah, I love that. Sharks Boy. I just finished Well of Ascension. Interesting to find this show. Welcome to Geek Bomb Book Chat, where we chat books. We choose a book a month, and we split it up over the first and second Wednesday of every week on Twitch, so that we can have a week off before we get stuck into our Book for Nerdist book club. Yeah, we kind of run 2 book clubs around here. But 2 books a month is ambitious for some, insatiable for others. But thank you so much for joining us to talk about it. So in saying that, Sharks Boy, we are just going to be referencing the first half of the book. And when I say the first half, we read up to chapter 31. So it's talking about the first 30 chapters. I need help with that from time to time. Clever Girl, funny that you brought up the Grishaverse, because I'm going to compare a character in this book to another character from the Grishaverse and see if anyone else agrees or disagrees. For those that are joining us in the Discord because you're a Patreon backer for Book Chat, thank you very much, my lovelies. You're in the Discord right now. You also have access to the Google Doc of the rundown. And I'm going to be referencing that throughout the show. But let's talk a little bit about Brandon Sanderson. Born December 19th, 1975, he's an American author of epic fantasy and science fiction. He is best known for the Cosmere fictional universe, in which most of his fantasy novels, most notably the Mistborn series and the Stormlight Archives, are set. I didn't know that they were in the same world. Cool. Outside of the Cosmere, he's written several young adult and juvenile series, including The Reckoners and Skywood. I actually have the book 1 of Skywood on my to read, and it's already in my Audible list. And the Alcatraz series. He's also known for finishing Robert Jordan's high fantasy series, The Wheel of Time, and he's created several graphic novel fantasies, including White Sand and Dark One. He created Sanderson's Laws of Magic and popularized the terms hard and soft magic systems. In 2008, Sanderson started a podcast with author Dan Wells and cartoonist Howard Taylor called Writing Excuses, involving topics about creating genre writing and webcomics. And then in 2016, the American media company DMG Entertainment licensed the movie rights to Sanderson's entire Cosmere collection. So this could be turned into something within whatever time frame that they have the rights for. Are we to assume that everyone has read The Final Empire, says Sharks Boy? Yes, we covered that book back in December. So the VODs for those videos are available on Geek Bomb's YouTube, but we have covered the Final Empire, book 1 of Mistborn, so you are safe to go into that spoiler territory too. Alrighty, first impressions. Oh, Toaster Poster listens to writing excuses. That's cool. Lisa says they just launched an Indiegogo for an anniversary edition of White Sands. Oh, that's cool. For those that aren't participating in the Discord chat, do you want to write your first impressions in the comments for me to read out? Thierry, I'll start with you. I stopped this series because of the narrator, Michael Kramer. You are done. Thierry, do you think that you will, because you read book 1, did you not? The story of book 1 was not enough to get through Michael Kramer's reading? Thierry's writing. One moment, please. You made it to chapter 5. All right, we need a call-in line on the Discord right now. What is a narrator that made you absolutely give up on a series? Michael Kramer, that'll do it. Simon Vance, he reads everything. There are a couple of OG narrators that just go. They are very well used. They get a lot of jobs, and if you don't like it, you miss out on a bunch of books. You gotta pump up the speed on it. I'm reading it like I'm listening at 1.6 minimum these days. If someone's like, "Hey, Maude, this is what we're doing," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, let's go," and I'm out. I'm asleep. Yeah. We've all had that friend that's tried to chew our ear off about something. Oh no, who's Edmund Kemper, Kate? Who's serial killer? Oh, the guy from Mindhunter, the one who talks slowly, and doesn't he have a thing for feet? Awesome. Yeah, Lisa, I'm the same. I needed it. 1 sounds so slow. All right, first impressions. Avery, we're starting with you, my love. First impressions of this book.
All the stuff type of a thing, and this one's just a lot of like political drama, so I'm still enjoying it. It's just not quite as much as it was the first one, but I have hopes that it will get better now that I hope we've discovered all the problems and are now solving them.
I just missed that first bit. If you just want to recap the first part that you just said, that was my bad. I forgot I had a glass of wine sitting there and then didn't unmute. I'm really sorry.
No, it's okay. I just said that I feel like there are a lot of problems like in the book. Like there's so much going on in the book, and every time that we discover, or every time that I thought that we had discovered all of the problems, there were more. And it just seemed like every chapter they were just adding onto the pile of bad things going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I'm hoping the second half of the book focuses on solving the problems rather than just introducing more. But
Got it. Yeah, there are some books and some shows where they just sort of like drown in problems, where you just kind of like this isn't even fun anymore. It's like kicking a puppy. So I hear you on that. The first book was all about world building, but now that we've kind of established the world, it's getting into different terrain. Instead of understanding magic, instead of the first year at Hogwarts, you know, we are now going, okay, we've discovered what the pieces on the chessboard are. Now we start moving them around. What's like Dresden? Oh, when it gets really, really hard? The extra problems coming to light. Colleen, you said it took you a little bit longer to get into this one. Ah.
Yeah, I thought it was a little slower. In the first book, you had Kelsier, and he's so magnetic. We don't have as strong a personality coming forth in this book. So it took me a little while longer, but I do like the way things are starting to unfold. I like the different, I like that there's different problems. I'm all about solving problems. So, you know, when you've got a book this long, you need to have enough problems to solve to kind of keep it going. And I like the way things are sort of unfolding. I'm enjoying that part, and I like the way the different characters are starting to develop. But I also kind of feel like shouting to Vin, no, don't trust him. You know, you don't know who Zane really is.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll get into that. I've got a big thing about that one. Lisa, how are you finding book 2, Mistborn?
Well, this is my second read of this book, so I'm catching a lot of things that I didn't catch the first time. So that's fun. I'm realizing I feel like I'm slow because
there's so many there.
There's so many subtle clues, which when some things are revealed later, you guys are going to be like kicking yourself probably, but unless you actually picked up on it. But yeah, I like it. This book is definitely more political leaning, so it's a little slower for me. But I know Brandon Sanderson's pretty famous for his what they call a Sanderlanche, where he builds up real slow through the beginning of the book, and the second half of the book, everything happens real fast. So I'm looking forward to reading the second half of the book.
Okay. That was actually going to be one of my questions for those that have read the book before. We have a bit of a murder mystery on our hands, and I was going to ask, is it obvious and is it worth like a reread to try and pick up on the clues? Because a lot of the time when you present a problem, you are looking everywhere, but not the number one place where the problem is, or like, you know, the hints. So that's interesting. Sharks Boy said, first impression, it feels like a YA series with R-rated violence, but a G-rated painful romance. I just can't tell if I can't tell if I'm just seeing his real life worldview or if the characters are that naive. Oh, that's a great one. And by the way, Sean AFK, thank you so much for joining us for Geek Bomb Book Chat. We are talking Well of Ascension. The fact that you said, Zane, I almost put down the entire Cosmere because of Zane. Luckily, I stuck through it. I just can't stand Zane. All right, you're talking about the book. We are limiting conversation to the first half of the book. If you are just joining us, we talk about the second half next week. And you're exactly right, Lisa. The first half's all about the explain-o, and then the second half is just, it all usually goes down. So if there's any big spoilers from the second half of the book, we are not having a chat about them today. Kate says, as a Mormon, Sanderson will never have anything romantic over G-rated. Oh, that's a bummer. Sometimes Vin says things that make Sanderson's Mormonness so obvious. Vin, little Finch. Moving on, Michelle and Chris, make sure you put your impressions so I can read them out too. But Michelle, what are your first impressions of the first half of The Well of Ascension?
Waxing and
Oh, I need more volume from you.
Oh no. Hold on.
Super, super quiet.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but like super, super quiet.
Okay. I don't know how to fix that.
Unplug and replug. I'll come back to you after Kate. Oh, did it? Okay. Oh, because it's a new month, KP Dub. Sub leader with gifting a sub over to Sean AFK. Very warm welcome into this community. Thank you, KP Dubs, for bringing the subs. Kate, first impressions, book 2, Mistborn.
The same sort of thing as everyone else, that it's not as zippy as the first book. It's much slower. It's taking a lot longer to ramp up, and it doesn't have that force of personality of Kelsier. It also doesn't have as good of a villain, really, or the villain idea of the Lord Ruler. Like, he and himself with the Steel Ministry and all of that made for a very magnetic villain, this, like, to, you know, balance out the magnetism of Kelsier. So both of those things are gone.
We lost our protag and our antag.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like...
It's when you
like
ask for a Coke and you get a Pepsi.
Well, I'd say Straff is more like the Royal Crown, like Cola. Like, it's like it's doubling down on this guy's super evil. Like, you know, it's like they may as well have him like kicking a puppy. It's like that level
my God,
of,
he did.
Know...
That scene, I remember listening to it just being like, how do you get someone unlikable instantly? He absolutely obliterates this woman for being too old and disgusting at 29.
Yeah, it's a bit like cartoony in like, oh, this guy's supposed to be like this, and it's like not as interesting as the stuff in the first book, but it's still really good. One thing I find, we were talking about how Lisa was picking up on things. I haven't read this book before, but I'm very curious about the second half of something that I think I've guessed correctly about Zane.
Can you PM me it?
So I'm very curious to read the second half, where he's got that voice talking to him, right? Like it calls it God in the book.
Yeah.
And I think I've guessed what that is. So I'm like very kind of like connecting the dots already in my head, and I'm kind of curious to see if I'm correct.
All right, chat, should we see what it is, or do we want to keep it a secret just in case she absolutely gets it right?
No, I don't want to say, because if it's right, it'll seem like I'm spoilering.
I want to know! Can you somehow message that to me, please?
Sure. I guess I could. Do you want me to DM you here or in Discord?
In Discord. In Discord, please.
But yeah, like, and I mean, a lot of the stuff, I mean, I'm still really enjoying the book. It's a little like, okay, I gotta trust you that we're gonna get somewhere cool for this, because you're moving a lot of pieces around the board. And my favorite part so far has definitely been when Szat and Marsh went to the Steel Ministry, like...
Yes. Because that was
church
action.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
That part was really interesting, and then it's like, oh, these little parts at the beginning of the chapter, it's like, this is the whole story, that, like, the myth that we're working towards. But, I mean, the stuff with Vin and Ellen's relationship, I'm just like, bleh. But, so, like, there's a lot to really like, but there's a couple things that's just, like, not as good as the other book.
Yep. Okay. I hear you with all that. Hey, Michelle, how'd you go with getting the sound up?
Hear me better now?
Oh, you're still really soft. What if you scream?
Oh.
Yes? Yes.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, there it is. Loud and clear.
Okay. So my interest was really like in and out depending on the character's point of view that we were reading in. And I'm sorry, but Elend, he's just not that interesting.
He really isn't.
I get what he's saying and I get the perspective, but he's really just not that interesting.
And the fact that Vin is really kind of driving in there the comparisons of Kelsier. Oh, Kelsier was so charismatic. Kelsier knew what he was doing. Kelsier made it about him, but Kelsier, and constantly kind of like comparing the two. As the reader, you're like, stop bringing Kelsier back into this. He's not a part of this. So the fact that you're comparing the two when we're stuck with one is almost not even like fair on us. But
yeah,
I get you.
It was a lot of mooning.
Well said. But then we've got this whole Kandra that's taken over one of the core group members. And so I was just like, is he more boring because he's a Kandra? You know, like you're kind of making excuses for a lot of the things happening in this book because we do have this red herring happening.
Yeah, it's driving me nuts and it's kind of anxiety inducing.
Oh no. Sean says, everyone misses Kelsey, the book. Yeah, I hear you on that one. Chris says, I read this book when it came out, so this would not be my first impression. I do enjoy it. It's how things fit is really fun to see. I like that. Jimmy, you are asking if we can not continue the series.
Yes.
Share your impressions.
Well, as I said earlier, pre-stream, I call this Mistborn because, you know, it's just like, can I beat my head upside the wall while I'm reading this? Because it's just so dull. It's just like, it's like watching paint dry. It's really irritating. Like, I feel bad saying this stuff about someone who put in a lot of effort, but it's just like,
it's not for you.
Could you make it more exciting? Maybe
are you you're listening to it?
No, I'm reading it.
Oh.
I don't listen to books that often. The only time I listened to a book was the Dresden Files because I like James Marsters. And he's a great, you know, voiceover. But I prefer reading because, you know, it gets me more focused as opposed to when I'm listening and I'm like, well, I have to do something else. I can't just sit here and listen. So, like, the reading gives me focus. So that's why I like reading. But, yeah, it's just like that scene when they're investigating these bones that they found in the keep. It was just like, yeah, we get it. I know who you're trying to say is involved in this, but can we just move it along? You know, like maybe we're coming off the high of Project Hail Mary and
maybe
it's just making this look seem so dull. I don't know. But it's just like, it just seems like it drags on and on and on.
Sometimes when you're talking about an oppressed society, it can feel a bit oppressive. And
I totally get it. I totally get it. That's just my opinion.
Love it. We love all sorts of opinions here. As I say to you, even if they're wrong. I'm kidding. That's because he gave Project Hail Mary a 3 out of 5, which I haven't forgiven him for yet. I will get over it one day. Today is not that day. Vaidin, first impressions.
Okay, so yeah, I'm enjoying the book quite a bit. Like, it is slow, as people have mentioned before, and there's a lack of clear, like I said, protagonist and big antagonists. Like, it's in the same terms as Kelsier was in Lord Ruler. Like, it was very stark back then. Now it's more vague, but I'm really enjoying all the world building going on right now. Like, we're learning so much about like the Kandra, the Kalos, the terrorist people in general. Like, you know, more stuff about Farakumi. Like, there's a ton of.
Still one of my favorite words. Oh, Farakumi. It's so good.
Yeah, there's just a ton of like cool stuff that I can see popping up in the future and actually being explored more. So I'm hoping, you know, it get resolved pretty well by the end of the book, at least most of it, but we'll see.
Do you find that having like introduced sort of different types of species, people, is that too much in a completely new book, or is it actually being introduced in a way that it moves the story along?
Oh, I think it's really well done. I think it's because like they were introduced, most of them are introduced in the first book, so they just kind of teased and get you a hint and get you like interested in it, and now it's like they're actually exploring it further. So I think the way he did it was excellent. So like it definitely got my interest in the first book, and now I'm really happy to see them, to learn more about them, especially seeing the prophecies and stuff like that.
Okay, it's interesting how people have touched on a lot of different things. It's not like we're sort of all under the same umbrella with it's this thing that I'm feeling like. We've got quite an array of different things, which I appreciate. DH Discord says, I read it just to fill in some lore that touches in the Stormlight Archive novels to get a more complete sense of the Cosmere. It was so slow compared to those other books that I just skimmed through it. Michelle says, I kind of wish Sanderson spread the point of view around a little bit more. I'd love to hear more from Orsia or Spook, for example. Kate says, I dig Orsia as a character. Orsia is who... Renault? I thought it was Renault. What's his... The Lord. She was Valet Renault?
Yeah.
Renault, yeah. I think he changes it and puts a T on from time to time. So she's basically seen him as a completely different man the entire time. And now he's kind of changing different skins, and then she's put him into a dog's body. If you're wondering who Orsia is. Ember Talia says, I got this series years ago, but I don't actually remember how much I've already listened to. I think these book chat discussions are helping because I'm more engaged in the story now, though there are still parts that feel very slow. Avery says, second books in trilogies are usually the slowest, so I'm not disappointed by it. I still do enjoy it a lot, and I'm glad we're reading it. Toasty Poster says, there's a lot of reacting and confusion in the characters' actions so far. I'm a bit lost, and I hope that this stream clears things up for me. Toaster Poster, hit us with some of the questions. What do you need clarifying? Let's see what we can do. Lisa says, we get Spook's POV in book 3. Oh, are we going to understand a damn word of it? Renault. Yeah, Renault. Oh, okay, good. The X is silent. Oh, Renew. Renew. There you go. Yeah. Also, Kate told me the spoiler. Oh! Oh! Ooh! Okay, interesting. I know that Lisa was interested to read that as well. Lisa, I can DM it to you if you'd like. I don't know. I think they touch upon that. Ooh. All I did was, oh, Hutsonizer. Hello, thanks so much for the follow. You love this book. We're going through Discord at the moment. So Geek Bomb Book Chat is something that we do every single month. We choose a book, and the first 2 Wednesdays of the book, we cover it on Twitch. The first week is the first half of the book, so that's what we're doing this time around. We're only covering the first half of Well of Ascension, and then next week we'll be talking about the entire book. So if you have read the entire book, let's keep the second half of the book kind of spoiler-free, so no big reveals. That would be great. But welcome to the book club, and make sure you come back next week so we can go full spoiler on the discussion. Let's talk a little bit about this plot. The Final Empire, as we know, book 1, is in turmoil as various regions descend into anarchy following the Lord Ruler's death and the disappearance of the Steel Ministry. Ellen Deventure has claimed the crown of the capital city, Lutherdale, and attempts to restore order, but various hostile forces converge on the city. Three armies lay siege to Lutherdale because of its rumored wealth of atium and political influence. The first army is led by Straff Venture, absolute piece of shit, who's also the head of House Venture and Ellen's father. Now, we kind of knew about Venture from the first book, how he had a slew of women, and that he tried to get Ellen to follow in those footsteps, and he was like, that's kind of gross, and we're like, thank you. So we knew that Straff was a piece of shit, but now he's ready to die, as far as we're all concerned. Get absolutely rid of him. The second army is led by Ashweather Set, self-declared king of the Western Dominance, and the third army consists of Koloss, massive, brutish blue creatures once controlled by the Lord Ruler, and is led by Ellen's former friend Jace, who's buying the Koloss's obedience with counterfeit coins. Vin and Ellen discover a set of discarded bones in their keep, and with the help from Vin's shape-shifting Kandra, Ursur realizes that another Kandra has taken the form and identity of one of Kelsia's crew to spy on them. Dun, 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 murder mystery. Did I say Venture? Venture. Yeet into the sun. Straff is prototypical patriarchal garbage, needs to be launched in the sun. There it is. Yeah. But yeah, I kind of like that we're getting a bit Agatha Christie up in here with the whodunit, who's the spy. More on that. Yeah, we hate Straff. Fuck Straff. We'll all drink to that. Ugh, gross. Anyway, we got a spy in the midst. Vin becomes increasingly suspicious of everyone around her, and at night she begins sparring with Zane, the guy who rocked up and basically challenged her initially. Straff's Mistborn son and Ellen's half-brother. Oh, how's the timing for that one? Hello, and Chris, 11 months streak, but 14 total. Thank you so much. Lovely to have you here. It's not paranoia if it's true. That's right, Colleen. On the money with that one. Why? Oh, we've got your questions. All right, we'll get to that one. So we're talking about all of this section. So anything that I've talked about, we can expand upon. If you don't hear about it, we are not up to it yet. In the south, Sazed has come across suspicious deaths that appear to be caused by the mists. Marsh, Kelsey's brother and a Steel Inquisitor, leads Sazed to a ministry stronghold called the Conventicle of Seron, the former base of the Inquisitors. They discover an engraving that was authored by the terraceman who once claimed to have found the Hero of Ages, which begins, "I write these words in steel, for anything not set in metal cannot be trusted." They leave quickly, Sazed taking a charcoal rubbing. The terrace keeper, Tindwell, arrives at Lutherdale to train Ellen to be a better king. Now, despite his personal improvements, the assembly votes to dispose Ellen using the very laws that he wrote. So that's kind of where we're at on this. Vin was brainstorming a little bit to Sazed about what she believes the mists are all about. Oh, that's cool. We're in the Discord looking at the Colossus. He did a really good job describing it because, yeah, that's exactly how I sort of saw them. All right, I have some talking points. We kind of touched upon these, but just in case we didn't really thoroughly go across it, I want to chat. Kelsey's death. I think we've touched it. Like, Michelle, you brought it up. A few people brought it up. I think, Colleen, you brought it up. How does the story feel without our main protagonist? Kelsier not only displayed leadership, he had the answers. He held the mentor trope for Vin, who had the chosen one trope. He had so much drive, charisma. The entire team and crew that he put together looked up to him for answers. Who's filling his shoes? Because they ain't doing a very good job, my opinion. But what does everyone think about that? Who wants to go first? Unmute, I'll call you up. Who wants to talk about Kelsier, replacement, how we're going with that? Who wants to? Vaidin!
Okay, so yeah, there's no true replacement for Kelsier at this point. Like, everyone's kind of like living up to his legend almost now, but now it's more like then basically it's more like everyone has to kind of step up to fill his shoes. So it's like,
and we're not really seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, Ellen's is getting definitely. He's just personality changing. He's becoming more of a actual king. He is changing it to help accommodate circumstances so he can be the king that the city needs. Vin is also improving, but otherwise, yeah, it's just it's not the same.
So all the traits of Kelsier have basically been split up, and people are stepping up to a part of it, but not. It's like the sum of all the pieces in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, I really want to touch upon Toasterposter's thing. Why is Vin hunting other Mistborns? I know there might be a threat, but there's no hard evidence or due process. From my point of view, she's murdering people for being Mistborn. I think what it is, Toasterposter, just to get you caught up in back into this conversation, when the armies were sent, so Straff has his own Mistborn. A lot of leaders will have a Mistborn in their employment, kind of like a bodyguard, their personal assassin. He sent a Mistborn to kind of like attack Vin. So, oh my gosh, if we use it as chess, it's like the king sending the castle or a bishop or whatever. And that just happens to be Mistborn. So she's not proactively chasing them and hunting them down. They are the personal assassin for the leader. And so when they want things taken care of, it's usually the Mistborns that have the skill set to be able to deal with it. Does that sound about right, chat? Good. Good. Colleen, you've got some thoughts on this about there being a power vacuum and now there's a leadership vacuum.
Yeah. Excuse me, I'm still getting over all of this.
Oh, you poor thing.
I think that that's part of why we have so many armies converging on Luthadel. Elend is strictly a theories guy. He doesn't, he's struggling to figure out how to put things into practice.
Well said.
And Kelsier actually created a cult to give more power to the movement. But now with Kelsier gone, and he's not even appearing to people anymore, nobody really knows what to do with that.
He also made himself the Messiah and not a symbol.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it could have been the New Age symbol of a sun rising, you know, to obliterate the mists, but he was a centric figure of that cult. So when he can't keep resurfacing, showing up, mind you, I mean, one could argue that Christianity is still going. But I think that was like this oversight that we see with Kelsier, where he had a bit of a Messiah complex, where he really did make himself the center of the movement, the idea, the plan.
I think the difference between this and, say, Christianity or Islam or something, another religion that is based on a Messiah or a leader, they establish certain rules and norms. Kelsier never did. Yeah. His entire goal was to destroy the final empire and
it was done.
Kill the Lord Ruler. So once that was done, we have nothing. There's no structure. There's no norms. There's no
cause.
Set power. Yeah, there's nothing, no framework left.
Well said. Good contributions. Lisa, you want to talk about confidence and power and Ellen's biggest problem.
Yeah, I think other than Elend being too nice and naive, I think his biggest issue is his confidence in himself. Like, he could be the leader that they need, but he, in his head, is just thinking he's not good enough to be where he's at. Kelsier should be the one leading them, and he feels like he can't stand up in that role. And I think that's his biggest issue right now.
I think you know what it is as well with Elend. Like, he really is doing the best with what he doesn't have, and what he doesn't have is an actual someone to look up to, someone who's done it before. All he knows is who he doesn't want to be and what didn't work. But he doesn't really know what does work and who to become. He hasn't had any demonstration of what or who that person looks and sounds like. Apart from glimpses of Kelsier, but they weren't really close. They interacted perhaps once, twice at the end. So he's got a father who's tried to walk him down a real funky path, and he said no to that. But then he hasn't really understood who he should be, just who he shouldn't be, if that makes sense. So with the Lord Ruler, he's trying to say, no, I don't want to have a dictatorship. I don't want to use tyranny in this instance. I don't want to do exactly what we fought to not have. Like, yeah, there's just been no demonstration, which is why I think the introduction of Tindwyl is so important, because you have someone that does get it, that does know. You have this replacement mentor figure. So Tindwyl is basically like the political Kelsier for Vin, in a way, where she knows what needs to happen. And she also knows how to talk to Elend for it to be effective, even though it hurts. You're right, Colleen. Kelsey didn't even like Elend until the end. Doc still doesn't like Elend in this book. But then was that because Dockson's the spy? Or, we don't know. There's so many things where I'm like, is that the thing? Yeah. But yeah, Ellen's biggest, when you really look at it, and this is like a great sort of like self-reflection task if anyone wants to do it, your best asset, your best thing about you, your best trait is usually also your worst. So if your trait is generosity, you're attracting people that take advantage of it. So it's like super interesting sort of like seeing both sides of the coin in that instance. For Elend, his best trait is that he's just. He does the right thing, but he's doing it to a goddamn fault where he's literally writing the laws to remove himself because he just doesn't want to be a tyrant in any capacity. Like, he just wants absolute fairness. And so they're taking advantage of that and turning it against him. I like his character glow up. He gets his own she's all that moment where he comes out with the haircut and the new outfit. And like, you know, if you dress like a general and you sound like a general and you look like a general, hoping you're a general in that instance. So that's kind of cool. But this guy has gone from being incredibly interesting in the last book, and you're right, they missed over all the spice and he's become sort of like super boring. God, he's boring. Yeah, his character, he's disappointing me in this way. I understand that he needs to kind of go from a very sheltered noble boy who was carrying around, like, the worst thing he ever did was carry a sort of a restricted book, a banned copy of a book. But now, he's just there. Well said, Blue Reader gal. He's just sort of there. And it's kind of interesting because when it was Vin, she was becoming obviously two very, very vastly different people. She was becoming she was a street urchin looking to survive, and then she had to be transformed into a ball attendee. But it was a journey of self-discovery of her trying to figure out who she was and what she liked best, and, you know, an exercise of trust. For Elend, it's not clear enough. Is Ellen's character made a little flat to push Vin to Zane? Chris, well said. Who wants to tackle that? Do we agree, disagree? It makes sense. He's a bit of a muppet. Vin doesn't even think she deserves him. I think, you know what? I think, actually, does anyone want to jump in on that before I go on a tirade?
I do, yes, actually.
Go.
I think that the person is that way because, you know, they had a noble birth. I'm sorry. I was talking about the end guy. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names. Elend. Yeah. And it was something with an E.
Yep.
Elend was grown up in noble birth.
Yes.
So he's all about like proper this and proper that. And then when he comes across the other person that I'm spacing the name on, Vin, he's like, oh, this is different, and I'm intrigued by this difference. I think there could be a love interest there. I know that sounds weird. Maybe he's seeing something in himself that he wants to be. I don't know. This is just my opinion.
We're spitballing. This is not an opinion. This is an assumption of a plot.
Yes, I am assuming. I'm not saying this is the case.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just sharing my opinion.
It's an assumption.
Yes. Aren't opinions assumptions?
One could argue.
Well, there you go. That's my point of view.
All right.
I don't know what else to tell you, Maude.
You think that Elend is... he's a bit soft. If we could break it down, you're just saying he's a little bit soft because he hasn't had real world experience because he's been kind of cushioned his entire life.
You could say that, yes,
yeah.
Maude, yes.
Yeah. Thierry says, I'm sorry, but with names like Vin and Zane, I'm only imagining Vin Diesel and Billy Zane. And it makes me chuckle. Oh, Sean's got a cool little bit of feedback on Kelsier. Kelsier was a really, really flawed person who was living in a terrible, terrible world. I just don't think he'd be as beloved in a nicer world. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Is Ellen's character made a little flat to push Vin to Zane? Anyone else? I really like that train of thought. I think what Zane is doing is highlighting just the differences between them. Vin has made it no secret that she is incredibly insecure. She doesn't think she's worth someone who has lived in a noble birth his entire life. It's so interesting. Like, if they just talked more or were able to hear these things about each other, Vin's going, class-wise, we are not a match. And then Ellen's like, power-wise, we are not a match. But I am so enamored by you, and then Vin's is like, but I'm not worthy enough for you. So that's an interesting thing. Zane's just coming in and saying, you two aren't compatible because it's us versus them. And he's really driving home that us versus them mentality and trying to plant the seed of separation, saying these aren't your people. You don't have anything in common. The reason why you don't feel like you deserve him is because you're Mistborn and he's not. And he's trying to shoehorn a lot of doubt, and it's kind of working. It's getting under her skin a little bit. Kate, you've got quite a few things that you've been saying in the chat. Do you want to jump in and express?
I know, I can't shut up.
No, it's great. Go, go, go.
Okay,
I
I'm
like the
scrolling back
first
to see what I wrote.
I like the first one
the
about
self-insertion character.
Yeah, about Ellen. Yeah,
that was about Ellen. Yeah, where it feels like, because a lot of, even for self-insertion for Brandon Sanderson, but also for the reader, where, you know, the kind of person who's usually reading fantasy is like the bookish, shy, not necessarily cool dude, and then it's like, oh, he's got like this cool girlfriend, and he's like put into this position of power. Everyone's like, no, you deserve the power, kind of thing. But he's just like a cardboard cutout of a person.
And we're here as the reader being like, why the fuck is he? This makes no sense. This does not compute. This isn't compatible. But Brandon's like,
and when you're not, because like me and you aren't that person, being like women, where it's just like, it seems like a little like what. But
yeah.
For most people reading this book, they would see themselves in Ellen, right? Where, you know, Kelsier is the one who's, you know, all charisma. He's like the cult leader guy, right? And
which is
so it's like Ellen's very the, you know, not the nice guy, because the nice guy is a super bad person.
Who do you see yourself as?
You know,
who do you relate to the most in this
me?
book? Yeah.
Oh God.
Tyndall.
Ham? I don't know. Nobody. Ham or Dachshund or one of those people.
I'm Tyndall.
Or Sazad, maybe? I don't know.
Maude, that was a little harsh. Well, you need to hear it, so I'm saying it. So, your next point. I liked that observation. I think that's
the
really
one that Elend is pushing Vin towards Zane. That one?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because like Vin is written, she's like a very insecure character, and she's always had, like, she's like, you know how people who have been abused tend to end up falling back into abusive relationships because it's what they know.
Yeah.
She's very much that, where it's like she was.
Yeah, he's treating her
pushed
so
by
well.
her brother, and then by all these like leaders of these gangs that she was in, and then Kelsier, who wasn't as mean as those people, but he still had that kind of force of personality where she was just kind of in his wake.
Yeah.
And then Zane comes along because Ellen's not that person at all.
He's treating her really
It's much
well.
healthier for her. Yeah, it's like he's a healthy relationship, but she doesn't know how to deal with that.
And the nicer he is to her,
that.
the more she's going to feel like she's not deserving of it.
Yes. And Zane comes in and he's exactly the same as like her brother and as like Kelsier and all these kind of like, because he's very, you know, magnetic and full of red flags, and which she doesn't see red flags, she just sees familiarity, right?
Yeah.
So
it's comfort.
Yeah, it's gonna push her towards Zane, and because he's also the only other Mistborn.
Yeah, and there's a, you know what? We had that sense of never belonging. She makes herself as small as possible because she doesn't fit in anywhere. She doesn't want to be noticed. And now she's found her thing. And that's what she really connected over Kelsier with. He was able to say, you're not like them. And that's a really great thing. Let me show you how you're like me and all the amazing things that we can do. And so that's when she's never felt more herself. When she's like, oh my gosh, I can do this.
Sean just said it's like he's the only road to knowledge, which is true.
Yeah.
Ellen can teach Vin a lot of things about like life that none of these other people, other men in her life ever were able to teach her. It's also that same sort of thing that it was said by me and a couple other people that it's a very kind of Mormon thing where it's like no matter how much it's like she still just needs a guy to run things for her. Even though she's more than capable, she's like more capable than any of these people. As magnetic as Kelsier was, he was extremely flawed. He didn't care about anything past his revenge.
Yep, he was consumed.
Once the revenge was over, he's just like, oh well, see you guys could sort it out.
I'm done. Yeah,
bye.
Good luck. Yeah. They love me, by the way. They really love me. I will say though, I can't remember what I was doing. I was walking around the streets, walking my dog. I was walking, and that sounded bad. And out of nowhere, I was like, Vin's brother died and he didn't break. He didn't break. And I just was like reminded of that incredibly pivotal moment of the first book where Vin's entire life thought that her brother was just threatening to leave and that he left her. How dare he leave her? And she got these incredible abandonment issues. Oh, Sharks Boy. It was announced in the first book that he was captured and he was tortured and he didn't break. Wow, there's a lot. Oh, this is getting convoluted. I love it. I'm a messiah. Peace. I love that. Sean says Zane is almost, the only road to knowledge for training and training for Vin at this point now that Kelsier is gone. Absolutely. Vaidin says Vin and Zane had terrible childhoods and were abused. Both of them had trouble leaving the only family they've known, but at least Vin got past it. And Colleen says Zane drops all kinds of insidious little comments for her to ponder and let fester and grow. Absolutely. Sean also said, I don't think Ellen is supposed to be, though, doing well. Oh, I don't think Ellen's supposed to be doing well, though. The book at every turn is telling him that who he is as a person isn't compatible with leaving. Yeah, now he's got Tyndall yelling at him every second. Zane's totally negging Vin. Yep. Oh, great comments, chat. We're all over this. Now, this is going to be a conversation that maybe not everyone can jump into because we last year covered the entire Grishaverse. But I want to talk about the fact that Zane and Vin, the relationship, the characteristics, everything that's happening is very similar. I've already forgotten her fucking name. To the Darkling and Alina. The only difference is that Zane isn't described as hot. I picture him as a bit of a babe. Sancta Alina. Oh my god, the way she did that voice made me want to actually throw up. But yeah, let's talk about sort of that breakdown where you've got someone who is, yeah, here we go. Michelle's on it. I'm a dark brooding dude. Let me tell you how you feel and what you're thinking. And then bam, look how connected we are. Well said. I actually think you said something earlier that was really on point as well. And I'm bummed that I gloss over it. Tyndall. Yeah, we'll get to that. The Darkling also had a very tortured and violent childhood. There you go. This is someone that can potentially have a mentor role. I know all the things. I can unlock your power. Trust me. I'm going to isolate you from everyone else so that I'm your only source. Let me do that by telling you how awful everyone else is. All the shit they're saying about you so that you'll only trust me. Let me make you feel special. What's very different here is that he started off and is consecutively her enemy. And she knows that they're nemesis. Like, she knows that. But she seeks him out. She wants to spar with him, thinking that her life isn't at risk every single time they're together. And he's kind of, yeah, getting under her skin. But I think that dynamic is interesting, and the comparisons over other book series that kind of explore that as well. Anyway, let's talk about Tindwyl and Orsia before we talk about this murder mystery that we got going on. Oh, the world's natural mystery. Oh, someone wrote that. That's cool. Who wrote that? The natural mysteries are revealing themselves. Whose addition was that in the doc? That last paragraph. Who did that? Who did it? Show yourself. I think I'm getting flushed from the wine.
It's me.
Thank you, Vaidin. That'll be excited to talk about. Alrighty. Orsia, we have a Kandra. This is the Kandra that was Lord Reno in the first book. He was under contract with Kelsia. They worked together. Kelsia passed on the contract of the Kandra to Vin. Kelsia's last order for Lord Reno, the Kandra, was to eat his body and consume him and keep spreading the good message and faith as Kelsia in his body. Because this was all done in secret, because Kelsia never... nom nom nom. Because Kelsia never revealed this to anyone, they didn't really even know what a Kandra was in its full effect or what it really looked like. The whole thing, they were left in the dark about it, and Vin really held and carried on that betrayal. The fact that this Kandra, Orsia, has consumed the person that she misses the most, Kelsia. And the act of having to digest and eat Kelsia, there was a finality for that, obviously, where she was just really broken up by. But now she holds his contract. And the relationship between Vin and Orsia is very, very interesting because it's very begrudging. They don't really necessarily like each other. We don't know the Kandra's personality completely because he's been adopting personas the entire time. But how do we feel about the evolving relationship? Because now that we're halfway through the book, they're starting to somewhat get along, whereas at the beginning, I'm going to say it, I was really uncomfortable about Vin's detestment of the Kandra as a whole, and it felt pretty racist. She had a lot of prejudice against their species. And the fact that they were able to communicate means that he's not really a species, he's a race. And it was really kind of interesting to see Vin's character go from absolute oppression, being the most sort of like the lowest sort of rung on that. Like, we don't deal really with race here, we deal with classism. And she's experienced the worst of it. But now that she's sort of elevated in society, she's now looking her nose down at someone underneath her. And that was kind of icky for me. Did anyone else feel that?
Yeah, I was I thought she was being so judgmental. I didn't associate it necessarily with race, but yeah, she was not accepting him for just who he was.
Yeah.
And really despised him.
And blaming him, even though he was
Yes.
literally following Kelsia's orders. He was obliged to act it out, and Kelsia is responsible for all of it. But she couldn't blame Kelsia because she wanted to blame him. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off. What else were you going to say about that?
Oh, no, just that she never saw him as a person. And I mean, I realize he's not human, but he was still a sentient being. And she never looked at him as anything more than a body gobbling monster.
Yeah. Just the way, I don't know, it was just so interesting for her to, you know, like the bully, if you get bullied, you bully. It was a little bit like that, where she had been given such a shit hand at life that there was a moment where she was able to kind of push it back onto someone else because she didn't really appreciate or like it. A lot of comments though. Sean says, it's been a little bit since I read this, but I thought that Vin's issue with the Kandra stemmed more from the fact that Orsia had eaten Kelsey's bones specifically. That's 100% where it stems from. But then she grew a detestment, like she absolutely just wrote off the Kandra as a whole because of that. And she blamed Orsia for literally taking Kelsey's actions, like for doing what Kelsey had ordered to do. But the fact that the blame always lay on Orsia and not Kelsey in that particular instance, yeah, she was just looking to kind of like blame Orsia. Lisa, you've got some thoughts as well.
Yeah, I just said, like, I know she later admits that she wasn't like, I don't know how she put it, but that she hated him because he knew that Kelsier was going to martyr himself and didn't tell anybody, so they couldn't stop it. And that's why she was so angry and mean to him to begin with. But I do agree with what everyone else is saying, that she's just kind of projecting her anger at Kelsier onto him. And
because Kelsey is not there to receive it. Yeah. Sean says Kelsier really skipped out on a lot of the blame by martyring himself. Kate said, Kate, what did you think it was? Oh yeah, no, we just said it. No, you're good. Avery. Yeah, a bit at first. Oh, what's the scene when what? Tell me about the Doctor Who comparison.
Yeah, this is one of the really early episodes from season 1 with Christopher Eccleston. Yep, Ninth Doctor. And they had it was the one where they had the ghosts with Charles Dickens in it.
Yeah.
And I mean, before they figured out that the ghosts were actually trying to take over the planet, the Doctor wanted to help them and was going to give them basically corpses to give them a physical form because they had lost their physical form in the war. And Rose was like disgusted by the idea. She could not stand. She was like, it's wrong. And he was like, and the Doctor was like, don't you have a donor card? And she was like, that's different. And he's like, not really. It's just a different morality. And that made me think of the Kandra. Like they eat human bodies, but like that, I mean, it's like, it's just how they are. It's not right or wrong.
It's like
They're dead already.
Getting mad at lions for eating a zebra. And you're like...
Yeah. Like, it's not like they're not killing anybody. The person's already dead. They're just consuming the physical form because they don't have one themselves. So, yeah, it just made me think of that. It's... I think that Vin is, like, reacting to something that she sees as wrong, but, yeah, it's not... If the person's already dead, is it really that wrong, or is it just different than what humans think is correct?
There's such a finality behind it, you know, once you've consumed a body. Like we have, and this is what's really interesting, I guess, when there's so much death, there's not really any death ritual. We see death's ritual as something that has huge importance on us, you know, the funeral, what happens to the body, saying goodbye. There's a lot that we hold, a lot of importance that we hold onto death, and we haven't really touched upon death in a way in this particular book. And I wonder if it's that class system where it's like, if you talk to someone you're not supposed to, you're dead, you know, like they don't really bury their dead. There's no sense of honor around death. So that's maybe like a really interesting thing. I think it's more the finality of it. Although we as humans hated sharks so much for only a few of us dying to them that we've endangered them. So yeah, Yeah, that's the thing. It's the few extremists of anything that gets the whole get the blame. The minority affects the majority every time. And Vaidin says they aren't even allowed to kill humans, so in order to consume the corpse, someone else has to do the dirty work in the first place. And that's how Kandra have been weaponized. Kandra, I think, are absolutely fascinating. They are a very powerful weapon ally. Let's go to have in your arsenal. Hello, Mike AMG. How are ya? First time chatter. Thanks for dropping on by. Also, it's a Mia Bondo. Thank you for the 7th month. Hype, hype, hype indeed. Vin's prejudice illustrates that a sense of morality isn't necessarily hierarchical. You don't actually graduate to a higher sense of morality based on your experience. It's more nuanced than that. You can be moral in one sense and an ignorant bigot in another. Yeah. Sean says Kandra are so interesting and one of my favorite mysteries that unravels across the series. I think it's incredibly interesting. It's kind of like the equivalent in a way, in a less gross version, is in The Witcher. You have the doppelgangers. The doppelganger can take on not only the appearance of, but the memories of someone else as well. So I argued in a debate that doppelgangers become the most important and most fascinating, and Kandra's in this instance, political bargaining tool. Because when you can kill and then take on that person flawlessly, the power you can gain from that is so immense. Colleen says, can we talk about the Kandra humor? It's a bit dead. Just kidding. Yes, we can, Colleen. Let's talk about the Kandra humor.
I like, you know, at first Vin wasn't quite sure how to take it, and he goes, "Oh, sorry, Kandra humor," and then she
like,
starts
we should just kill
picking
him.
up on it. Yeah,
I laughed out loud.
When he said something about, well, his name is Ham.
Surely he's going to taste good. This other guy, he is just, what did he say? Like he was marinating himself because he drinks so much wine. And that's the thing. And I think that that's when they start connecting. So, you know, like when you don't really know a person and then they say something grossly inappropriate, but it's completely your humor. And then instantly like, oh, you're my weird. Yay. They had that moment, which I thought was really lovely. Sean says, I'm curious to see how the humor overall works for people because Sanderson's humor can be really hit or miss with people across all of his books. Interesting note. While we're looking for the spy, we'll look out for the humor as well. Toasty Poster says, wasn't there a character who's trying to reteach people about their culture? There was a scholar talking about how things were generations ago. You are talking about terracemen. Terracemen's duty, they are keepers. And keepers learn about the histories and they retain that information. So they are basically like a walking archive. Sazed studies and learns and keeps a store of all of the religions that have existed throughout eons. And when they retain that information, whether they read about it, whether it's passed on to them, they keep sort of like that information, I believe, in like stored memories. So if they die, all of that information that they are storing dies with them, which was so heartbreaking to hear about Tindwall as well. Oh, they're metal minds, yeah. And I think that that's really also interesting with Tindwall, who specializes in leadership and generals and how to run countries and how to fight wars. She's an expert in that. And so she's basically passing on this expertise, and extreme expertise. The amount of information she has is very, very fascinating. Lisa, yes, I have to bring up that point as well, how she unconsciously started petting him. And he's like, I'm not sure how I feel about this. She's like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Oh, that was a lot. That was a lot of fun. Yes. A walking archive, you say. Now, where have I read that before? Yes, Thierry, Dresden Files. There is an archive who is a living, breathing entity as well. Clever girl, great comparison. The Terracemen were really, really secretive about their culturalistic uniqueness, things that sort of made them them. They were secrets that they didn't want the regular person knowing about because it could be taken advantage of. Same thing with the Kandra. They are very, very secretive so that even the Keepers don't understand them completely. Yeah, it's kind of like if someone's like, you're really good at hosting, tell me everything. No, what is it? Like if you're an expert, if you're something that you've monetized for a living, you're a lawyer. Boom, there it is. You're a lawyer. And someone's like, well, then what should I do in this instance? And it's like, that'll cost you. It's the same sort of thing with the Kandra. Avery says, I love Sazed, especially that he's a rebellious Terraceman, but so well behaved. While we are talking about Terraceman, let's talk about Tindwell. The introduction to her character. I thought it was a little convenient that she kind of just shows up and was so authoritative that she was given absolute authority, I guess, to do her thing. There was a little bit of a standoff with Vin, who's kind of like, who is this woman who's just barging in and now she's bossing everyone about? But there was a shift in absolute power in a way where they just all of a sudden listened to everything she was saying. But this whole spy thing was introduced. And I'm like, Vin, you gotta freaking start finding out who the people that you trust are so that they can be like, insert new person. Maybe they're untrustworthy. Maybe we need to see, I don't know, can Terracemen be consumed? That's it. And then Lisa, you're right. And they were like, oh, Sazed sent you. Okay, you're all good. What do we need? But what do we think is Tindwell as a character? Also having Sazed around chapter 30 share Tindwell's backstory. So we learn also, yeah, like I just mentioned, Sazed is a keeper of religions. She's a keeper of sort of leadership. So she's an incredibly helpful person. But what do you think about the information that she's sharing? And what do you think about her the difference of treatment between Vin and Elend? Anyone have any thoughts on that?
Well, my opinion on Tindwell is that she, like you said, she has this vast knowledge of political leaders and religion and stuff like that. So it basically gives the, I guess for lack of a better term, illusion of power, you know, and she's using that as a smokescreen to get towards Vin and trying to oust Vin in a way. Maybe she has some sort of backers that are, you know, pushing her towards this. I don't know, but I would think that, you know, that would be the case. It would be very smart on the writer's end, but I'm not the writer. So, you know, but that's what I think.
Do you think her intentions are good?
Well, I think that her intentions are whatever they are. You know what I mean? Like she's just a puppet in a way. But again, I haven't read the whole book. You know, if anything, I would assume that, you know, the person that I'm very suspicious of is Orzer, because they just, you know, the way that they interact with people, it just seems like it would go towards, you know, like a specific, you know, like something's gonna happen. You know what I mean? That's just a broken way of saying it, but that's
okay.
what I think.
So this is like a game of Among Us. Orseus is sus. All right.
It definitely sus for sure. You know, I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it.
All right, we're voting, everyone. This is a game of Among Us. If you've played it, you know what we're talking about. Someone's sus. And this is what I wanted to talk about with like the introduction of a spy. It's like a game of Mafia. I'm in a Mafia group. We basically lie to each other. Let's say there's a group of 20 people. 6 of us are Mafia. And we have to pretend we're a townsperson. And we're talking and we're gaining evidence. And it's like we have to find out who the Mafia is before we die. And I think that, Set's daughter could be an option for it. Okay, interesting. It did make it sound like it was an inner circle. But that's the thing. Any new character, we're like, this is sus. I have a couple of bones to pick while we're all thinking about who we're sus on. You get a vote. Your first and your second, who you think number 1 is and who number 2 could be. Number 1s will get 2 points. Your second will get 1 point, and then we'll tally it up and see if we're right. If you know the answer, you're exempt from this. If you've only read halfway through, what the Zeldas? Get it, Zelda. Zelda, are you sus? Yeah, she's doing a shit job if she's trying to spy. That's for sure. So have a think. Who's your number 1? Who's your number 2 on the sus meter? And we'll tally that up. But I have a bone to pick with this mystery. I liked that we're introducing a mystery element. I think we didn't have that in the first one. That was more about magic and powers, and that was exciting. And now it's like, ooh, a mystery. I think that it took a frustrating backseat. Gross. So we have, oh, hello, Don't Mind Me. I won't. Thank you so much for following, though. We are talking about Well of Ascension. It's our book for this month's book club, book chat. We're talking about the first half of it. Next week, we'll be talking about the whole thing. So if you've read the book, stay on by. Going back to the conversation, we discover the bones. Ellen's a part of that. So Ellen's not really talking about it either. It's up to Vin solely, but Ellen knows about this too. But someone in the group is not who we think they are. Vin has trust issues. I would have thought would be jumping at it. She learns more information about Conjurers from Orsia, and that is if you eat the corpse of a misting, you cannot use the power. So process of elimination, she's going to look towards the group. Anyone who is a misting, she's going to get them to use the power. If they can, they are exempt, they are safe, they are who they say they are. She really doesn't get to it. She's learning this and she takes a while to prioritize this at all. It got to the point where I was like, why isn't Vin caring that someone in her immediate circle is not who they say they are? Why is she not looking for the culprit? I got a
bad feeling about this.
Hello, Stephen. Yeah, exactly. Actually, now that you say that, yes. It actually needs to be explained in the book. By the time I'm starting to get really bothered by this, an explanation is given on why she's questioning her delay. And it's the fact that she's finally got a family. It took so long to meet these people, and she just cannot handle that kind of the betrayal when she finds out who it is. She just cannot take that loss, because when she finds out, it means that she's basically lost another friend. So she's delaying it because of that. I think that contradicts her character. She spent her entire life not trusting. And the moment that there is someone in her midst that isn't who they say she is, it just would make sense for Vin to fixate on that and make that the focus so that she could eliminate someone that's literally spying on her. This is also when we saw the big changes with Elend, and I actually started getting a little bit confused with Tindwyl and Elend, because I'm like, she came in at this time. She's trying to make him seem really different. Is that a cover-up because Elend, the king, is the conjurer? I was like, ugh. But I'm like, why isn't this happening? The fact that Brandon had to write about it, I was like, okay, he's understanding the reader's frustration. But then it takes a few more where it's like she just, again, oh goodness, Triscon, don't you dare. Yeah, she's just not making it a priority. And using this mafia terminology, when you play the sheriff, you're able, when everyone's sleeping at night, to check on someone, and you find out if they're okay, if they're a townsperson, or if they're mafia. And usually, because you're sitting around a circle, you'll check the people next to you. So as soon as you know that they're okay, you get to tell them, I'm the sheriff, we can work together to eliminate the problem. So when Spook demonstrated that he was burning bronze, when Ham, I believe, Ham is okay as well, she's starting to tick them up. Breeze is in the clear. She's not sharing this information. She's not bringing it up, and she's not trying to build the allies or a sense of secrecy, going, hey, we might have to stop planning things in public because someone here is going to leak all of our information. When Ellen goes to meet with Straff, he's like, he's got something on me. It's as if he's 2 steps ahead. So it's like, the fuck are you doing? Like, you're literally shooting yourself in the foot when you're at the worst time possible. You got 3 armies crawling on you. Elend's now lost his position as the king. Obviously, this spy is making everything so much harder for you. Tell the people that know. They had this conversation. Elend knows, but like, make sure that you prioritize. Give them a test. Just say, hey, can you switch on some tin? I'm going to do something. Whatever it is. But grow the people until you eliminate who it could be. I think that would be a little bit more interesting from where I'm coming from than ignoring the problem. I think like it's a contradiction in character. Alrighty. So, Blue Reader Gal says there's so much going on in the book too. Sean says, I feel like so many problems in this book, even beyond the romantic ones, could have been fixed by people talking to people. Talking, communicating. I know. Blue Reader Girl says, yeah, I'm trying to figure it out too. Who the real villain out there, out to get the power. Who is the real villain, sorry, out to get the power. Avery says, but she also got mad that Elend trusted everyone so easily. All right, so she had to kind of do it on her own. Breeze, is his allegiance enough to kind of, you know, put that into effect without him blabbing? Oh my God, Kate says she cares more about that Elend got, that Elend likes her long hair and doesn't want to cut it because he said so, than finding a fucking spy. Thank you. Avery says, yeah, I agree, she should be more on top of the mystery. Ember and Elias says, both the imposter situation and Vin's interactions with Zane seem out of character and not adequately explained or addressed. Thank you. Hey, Lisa, if you ever want to jump in the chat and talk about it, you got access. You can jump on in that Discord. Kate says, calling people out directly sometimes gives you more answers than all of this not talking to people. Yes. Lisa says, that's my least favorite trope, the miscommunication / non-communication. Especially like when they do contemporary fantasy where it's like, shoot a text message. Not hard. Anyone want to unmute and jump into this conversation? Talking about the spy, how Brandon Sanderson's written about it, how it's been excused and not prioritized. Did it frustrate anyone else? Who hasn't had a chat in a while? How did I know you would unmute? What do you think about this?
Well, Maude, you know, I'm not an expert in spying or criming, but I'm just saying, like, a lot of times when people are portrayed, like, for example, in a horror movie, I'm sure you haven't watched horror movies, like you said, but in the trope is that the killer is usually in the first or the second scene of the movie, right? So following that logic, you know, it's very similar to what Sanderson is doing, where he's just like, hey, this person is here, just saying they're here. If you picked it up, all right, you know? And, you know, so, like, in terms of spying, you want to obviously always deflect the point of view on you so that you can continue spying. Like you said in your game of Mafia, you don't want to be the Mafia. You want to convince other people, similar to the game of Werewolf. You don't want people to know that you're the werewolf.
Yes, exactly, you know, the same game,
Exactly. So it's like one of those things where you have to be more subtle about it. I don't think he's being that subtle. I think he's just being more plain about it, you know. You know, again, I don't know how much experience this person has in writing spy background, but I'm just saying
I think it's a really good addition to the story. I just think that he can't unveil it yet. And so he's using stalling techniques to introduce, maybe it should have been introduced a little bit later, you know, because like having it, it ramps up the suspense. I mean, Michelle saying, this is the part that made me so anxious and nervous. It seems so freaking dangerous. Michelle, you also made another great comment. Do you want to jump on and explain that?
Vin is the head of security. She needs to do her job, which is sniff out problems. The call is coming from inside the house.
Seriously. And she's like, oh, but I love everyone too much. It's like, nah, girl. Vin has an ability to detach. She really does. And I think that there's so much more at stake than having to say goodbye to someone that you love. It just didn't make sense, huh?
I think that this would have been stronger, this first part, if they had focused more on like that spy political thriller element. Yeah, Kaz would have sniffed it out. I mean, come on, Vin.
Right. That's it. And the fact that we need more of an excuse to dismiss her behavior is not great. I know she's got problems with sort of like Ellen and wanting to be there for him. Also not thinking, like if there was like another thing where someone was always sort of listening and she couldn't have that conversation. Whoever the tin-eye was one that you can hear the conversation. You burn tin, I thought it was. Like if she just didn't know. Oh no, if they're burning tin, they're fine. No, it makes no sense. It's dumb. It's dumb. Spook uses tin, so Spook's good. Oh my God, give me that thing. Fuck, this is even better. If Brandon Sanderson learnt how to get some. Sorry, please don't anyone send that clip to him. But what would be more interesting is if she fucking turns to Spook because he's burning tin. So she's like, right, Spook's in the clear. Bring Spook in on it. They're being super secrety and hushy-hushy. And then Ellen's like, dude, you're spending a lot of time with Spook. She still doesn't trust Ellen 100% because he's not misting and she can't prove it. So she keeps turning to Spook to have these conversations. There's a side little story that just, tension. Tension. All right, now that I've done that, let's go back and talk about who we think our most sus is and who our second sus is, and we'll do a quick little tally. Lisa, can I count on you to do that? I count on you for a lot. You're very reliable. You're very count-onable.
What, you want me to keep a tally?
Yeah. We're going to go through and see who we think halfway through the book. I know who it is, but I'm still going to say my guess, what I thought before I got spoiled 2 hours ago when I was doing my research. So I'll stick to my authentic guess. If you wrote it in the chat a little while ago, let's pop it back in because I'm scrolling and there's a lot of chat. All right, Sprinkle, we'll go through them in reverse order. Vaidin, who's your most sus and who's your second sus?
First is Tinwell, for sure, because she goes listed in. And also she uses Ferrocamy instead of Elemency. So she's very suspicious.
Okay.
And also she gets to all the good competitions. And then Doxin, because he doesn't have Elemency, so they've basically been kind of ignored for a lot of the book. So I feel like the lack of focus on him.
Nice, I like that. Jimmy, you've already written it. Number 1 is Orsia and number 2 is Tinwell. Kate, who you thinking?
I think my number 1 is Doxin. My number 2 is Orser, because it feels like they're getting close, him and Vin. Like she's kind of learning from him and they're kind of building this relationship, and it would be so every other person in her life for him to betray her.
Yeah.
Like
let's
every
talk
other
about
person has screwed her over.
The logic behind that. Can a Kandra consume a Kandra? Because they're technically adopting another person's physique. Can you literally recycle bodies like that? We don't know. We don't know. Okay. Michelle, who's your number 1 and 2 that you're sus on?
I'm so suspicious of everyone. I think it's a regular person in the household, because I think they spend a lot of time overlooking just regular people, but relying on them. Like, they're always so worried about mistings and Mistborn and noblemen. And, you forget about the regular people. So, if it was someone who had some authority over the staff, they could turn the whole staff, potentially. So That was, yeah, it's the cook. It's the cook. I'm thinking the head of the guard, because Ellen seems to trust him a lot. But I think it's a regular old person in the staff, and then I think it's that girl that Seth's daughter.
That they went out.
That would be my second.
Because they again were like thrown into. For how? Like, how even were they put in a shopping trip together? Seems sus as.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sus. Hi, Pailang. Are you going to join us in the Discord? Have you read this one? Pailang says, can a Khandra consume a Khandra 10 times fast? I can do it. Yeah, even if I've had a glass of wine and my nose is red because of it. Chris, who did you put your number 1 and 2 in the chat? Oh, you've read it. Never mind. Lisa, you've read it. Never mind. Colleen? Have you finished it? What are your guesses?
No, but I'm thinking that young noble girl. I don't know her name. Yep. I can't remember.
Seth's daughter. Yep.
Yeah. She seems really obvious because she just happened to be there listening and things like that. But the other one that makes me really nervous is Dox.
Yeah.
He's the only one that is not an Allomancer, so it'd be really easy to, hide that. And he just seems really uncomfortable with everything right now.
Yep. Yeah, he doesn't seem himself. Okay. Avery, what do you got? And Lisa, how are you going with the score, by the way? I trust.
Yeah, I am also suspicious of everyone. But I'd say my number 1 is Captain Demo, the guy who found the body in the first place, because he's always like right outside the door when they have meetings. Because he's like, he's the head. I believe he's the captain of the guard or the head of the staff or whatever. So yeah, he's around a lot. Not quite inner circle, but not quite outside staff enough that he would still be able to get an in on what's going on.
Yeah.
And then my second one is also Seth's daughter, because I mean somebody pointed out that she showed up later, but I feel like that would be even more reason to be suspicious about her, because it would make them not suspect her at all. So.
All right, I like that. So mine, number 1's Dox. He just seems a little out of sorts this book so far. Doesn't really have a purpose. He's in an inner circle and he's basically the only non-misting. And that, I think, information is, if there's a way that you can instantly tell if someone isn't who they say they are by just using and burning a medal, then I think Dox is easy. I think Dox is the best and the most suitable target. Could that be Smoke and Mirrors? You betcha. And I was going to say someone else, but Miss Necromancer says we are only, because I was like, can a Khandra consume a Khandra 10 times fast? I was like, can that happen? And then Kate brought up the most interesting point. We're only getting what Orsia is telling Vin. So if he were the spy, it's not like he would tell her about that. So here's my number 2. So Lisa, are the results in? Oh, cool! Terry bought a underwear. Look what he bought. That's sick. Oh, that's awesome. I love that we get notifications for that. What? Don't tell people about the crimes that you commit. Rule number 1 for life. Lisa, how are we going with the results?
So it looks like Dox is who everyone is most suspicious of, with 4, and then after that it'd be Seth's daughter and Osor.
Ooh, okay.
Everybody else is just 1 or 2, so yeah.
Okay.
Pretty close race.
We will find out next week on Who Done It in, it's not even the Kingdom. We don't even have a name for this place. In the Mistborn series. Dun, dun, dun. I like that. I can't talk about it. It's in my contract. Aw, Vaidin just gifted Pailang a sub. That's really sweet. Oh, now KP Dubs and Vaidin are neck and neck. First place of gifted subs. That's really sweet. We don't usually do gifted subs when it's book club, so that's really lovely. Thank you for that. Vaidin, speaking of, you're up.
Oh, Sorry. So yeah.
We are talking about the world's natural mysteries are
Yes.
revealing themselves. Now, this is a note that you made in the document, so I'm super excited for you to take over.
I could talk for a long time for this, but
Let's go.
I'll try to keep it a little short. Yeah, I think initially the first thing is they talk a lot about the mists, like coming alive essentially, and like taking people's lives, and that it was something that the Lord Ruler had prevented. Like there was no records of anything dying from it. It's not for a long time, and then once the ruler died, it started happening again. There was a note in the logbook about it apparently happened a long time ago during on the time of the Hero of the Ages, but. Yeah, that's super interesting to see how that. And it wasn't also special because like that and a bunch of other things are all converging on essential dominance. Like the Mist is going toward Luthadel. A lot of things are going there. Like the armies, like the Colossus army is going there. Other two armies are going there. Like everything's centering.
Yes.
So it's super interesting. So I'm really fascinated to see what happens.
So what we do know is that the last Lord Ruler was not supposed to be the Lord Ruler. The Lord Ruler is supposed to go into this Well of Ascension, take care of some business and protect the people. And when it was a terrorisman that was with the person who was supposed to be the Lord Ruler, killed him and then jumped in instead and consumed all the power. Apparently he was holding it at bay, but didn't handle the situation completely. Someone interrupt me if I'm wrong. This is what I was getting from it. Now that the Lord Ruler has died, basically his dying words to Vin were, "Oh, you fucked up." Paraphrasing. But he's like, "You fucked up. You thought I was bad. I was actually making sure that everyone would stay alive. And now that you've killed me, you're all going to die." And Vaidin makes a really great point. Now that the Lord Ruler's dead, Mists are acting up. Mists are being different. Vin can hear this drumming, thrumming, bump, like boom, boom, boom sound of Devkuns. It's close. Thanks for the follow. We're doing book chat. We are talking about The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. If you've read it,
I got a bad feeling about this.
let us know about it. What about you coming into chat? Oh, please let us know. KP Dub says, "Look, I didn't read it, but don't wells usually go down?" So how does the Well of Ascension play into the book so far, if at all? The guy leading the Colossus has "something bad is gonna happen to me" written all over his character. Oh my god, dude doesn't even know. That's why I thought Sazed made a really great point where he's like, "Ooh, don't kill me, because if you show them that my life doesn't matter, then what's stopping them from killing you? I'm in danger." But yes, the Mists are taking on a completely new form. We are hearing instances. Sazed has now documented cases of people dying from being killed by the Mists. There's this thing watching Vin. She's noticing that something is lurking from within the Mists and staring at her. She's starting to think that she could be the chosen one. She's gotten that for a little while now, but she's starting to think that she could be the hero of ages as well, because she's starting to care about the law. Things are being apparent to her and her alone. Anyone else have any theories about the Mists? Hold on, Vin's especially good sensing with bronze has been used in the past to pierce copper clouds, and Marsh has told her that there's a lot more to it than most know. What else could bronze do? Kate, what are your thoughts about the Mist Shadow? Ominous.
Into my DM to you on Discord. I don't know if I should say it. Because if I'm right, it's a huge spoiler.
I sent it to Lisa. Lisa, can you just tell me if this is a spoiler or not? I DM'd you. Say if we can share this.
I feel like I'm right. I feel like my brain is actually working properly and I'm right.
Lisa, check your Discord DMs. Can we share this?
I read it already. I'd say it could possibly be spoilery parts of it, but I don't want to tell you
which parts. It's a mystery. Yeah. Let's go. This is the theme of part 1. We don't fucking know which part or what's spoilery or who's the spy. It's just that one part, so we have to deduce this information. Kate, go for it.
That I think, because she read in that diary that she got from Alendi that was seeing this thing too, right? So I think it's the deepness.
And
She's
the deepness
seeing
is
some
what
sort
dwells
of,
in the well.
like, where she's seeing not like it, but some sort of like ghost of it, or like a little bit of its power, like, you know, and like leaking out kind of thing. So she's seeing like a ghost of it, or just like a little tiny bit of it.
So, is this the whole thing where like attracts like?
Yeah, like, but it just like Alendi saw it, and he was supposed to be the hero of ages, but then the Lord Ruler stopped him, and now she's seeing it, and so it's very like that's what I think.
Is there any coincidence about Elend and Alendi? Because that was confusing for me.
I think it was probably just coincidence.
It's like when they have like Eleni and like all these like names that kind of sound the same, and I'm like, I'm a book reader. Like, make the names different, otherwise I'm gonna get them mixed up. I need different, unique names. Elend, Alendi.
Sometimes though, when a writer is writing names, see it more as the spelling than the pronunciation.
Like the
so
Y
it may have,
instead of an I.
Yeah, like, it may have just been a coincidence, and then afterwards, when it was like being read, it's like, oh, I should have maybe named those differently.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like, what is the game King of Throne of Glass? By like book 6, there's like 3 people that sound the same, and I'm like, nah. Toaster Poster, you're struggling with the narrator as well. I'm reading and listening, but then I have to put it on like 2.4 to catch up with my read speed. My read speed's really hard. Just once, can the fantasy/alien world just have people called Jenny and Steve? That's half the fun of being an author. You get to have like 9-syllable names and people have to deal with it. It's funny, everyone's like, Terry, no one's calling anyone Maude. It's fine. I don't care. It's a shit. We're going to wrap things up. We're 5 minutes early, but someone's got Pokemon on the Switch and I have to play it. We will be back next week, 5 till 7, to talk about the second half of this book. I have a feeling that a lot more is going to happen in the second half. So homework, finish the book. I'm sure that'll change since more people are into audiobooks now. Oh, because the rule that they teach in creative writing is that you're not supposed to use the same name, the same first letter twice. Got it, yeah. Yeah, true. Oh, I read the second comment before the first comment on that one, sorry. Thierry, the sass. We'll be back next week. Excited for book chat. Oh, who can we write into and make someone's day? If only for 5 minutes. Who's online? Any suggestions? Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them. Oh, people are playing Pokemon. That's interesting. Oh, it was good to write into Not Sage before. That was nice. Is Gory online? Shut the front door. Nuh-uh. Oh. Yeah, I followed. No, I was like, what? Next stream is at midnight. Good. Midnight for that stream. I wish other people did book clubs. MVP Gotham's. Hello. Another fun chat. Now we can finish the book. You betcha. It's a bit of a chunky read. We'll do something lighter next month. I don't even know if it's going to be lighter. We don't have to. I just want to know if anyone's doing like... Do we want some D&D? We could do some D&D. Gilding Light and the Dungeon Run are going on right now. That's exciting. Yeah, seriously, Vaidin. I completely agree with you. What I don't often do is put myself in a different perspective. I just kind of only focus on mine because it's what I know. But I love that when that happens. Pylang, you read as fast as the audiobook speaks to you? Not over here. Well, Maybe we don't have to raid every time. Maybe we can just call it. And that's okay. We'll find out next week who it is. I already know. That sucks. Bye, everyone. Adam, what are you doing here the whole time? Were you here the whole time? You don't read. Do we win something if we get it right? Yeah, prioritized. Wait, I know who wins, so I can't say anything. No. Yeah, you win my endless respect. It's pretty impressive these days. Bye, everyone.